CS and DXP industry. So I've been working for various companies like Core Media for more than 10 years. Also see some familiar faces here like Toby on screen. Met a lot of you at some of the Janus conferences and workshops. So also happy to see a lot of new faces in here. And I do admit I'm not an SEO, GEO, AIO expert. Like I've worked in the field. I've done my fair share of product management and product marketing. Going to start a new challenge in product marketing in January that I'm looking forward to that will also make heavy use of AI. And so I spend a lot of time around this topic, but I encourage you and invite you that if you have expertise in this field, that we do this a little bit also interactive. So I'll do my slides and we'll have some time to also discuss about it. And I'm sure that you have a lot of insights to share. So basically, that's my question about, since we know that website traffic, as we know it is ending, what are we all, and especially you guys, also doing about it? So with that, I'd like to start into the talk. So we are all aware that AI has taken a significant uptake. And we also know that in general, as we start using it, it's much better to use AI to search something on the internet than instead of like giving you a list of like whatever links will actually give you an answer. So that leads to a lot of consequences that were sort of like non-obvious. So I'll just switch to my first slide. So this leads to a real traffic collapse overall. So many websites have seen that traffic drop significantly from up to 2/3 of traffic going away. And they've also seen a lot of like click-through rates dropping down because obviously people just get what they're looking for directly in an AI search result and not even click through to a site anymore, which is called a zero-click result. And that means that some even smaller publishers, for example, this is an example of a travel blog, had to shut down completely because they saw 90% traffic drop. They couldn't monetize anymore. So basically the problem with AI search is that it turns the existing business model of the internet on its head, which was always like Google driving traffic to your site, where you could then try to monetize this traffic by putting ads or having like sponsored content on there. And that is not working anymore if people don't go to your site, because what the AI search engine does is like it scrapes all the content. It basically presents it to the user without the surrounding context of your page. So basically the information lands with the user, which is great, but whatever you're trying to do to monetize it sort of disappears. And this is like a significant number of users. Like ChatGPT currently sees more than 800 million active users per week. And people are still using Google a lot, but also Google has started introducing AI mode and AI search snippets that they put on top of the results page. So even like with people still using some of the traditional tools, that also has a big significant impact on the traffic that we're seeing, because also Google takes away a lot of that traffic. They started by having like the answer snippets on the right-hand side that exposed information from sites like Wikipedia or some other stuff that they could scrape. But nowadays, for many search results you get on the top of the page, you get like about 1/3 of the screen is an AI search result that puts some links in there, which is nice, but most people will probably be satisfied by just the answer to their question, won't click through. So, and again, Google launched this also already about a little bit more than a year ago, but they've started rolling it out now worldwide. So also Europe has seen these AI overviews. And probably the publishing industry suffers the most because their destination is their product. So if people get the information that they want without going to your site, you have no chance to monetize. If it's a transactional, like an e-commerce thing, then you might still be impacted, but maybe not as much. The interesting thing is, even though also the e-commerce sites seeing a lot of like less click-throughs, at least from people that I spoke with at various occasions, they told me that at least those people that do click through have a much higher intent to purchase. So they see better stable or better conversion rates even on the AI traffic than they saw before. So like you cut off part of top of the funnel, but you get more qualified users to the next step. But then again, like even HubSpot sees a huge drop in traffic. So it's like everybody's affected the same way. So it's affecting each and every one of us who are like on the providing side of information on the internet. So what is happening now? Of course, we've all been used to SEO, search engine optimization as a topic. It was all mostly about how do we get Google to put us on top of their ranking lists, which started out by the PageRank algorithm that basically said the more pages linking to you, the more valuable your content is going to be. So people started doing link sharing, all sorts of other things, white hat, black hat SEO techniques to get higher to the Google top results, because if you're not on Google first result page, the likelihood that people seeing you was already very little. Then Google started also like selling advertising space. So usually the first 3 to 10 links are now paid links. And if you have an AI search result, then basically all your organic search results are so far down on the page that most people even don't scroll there anymore. But well, this is how the world evolves. Again, like we had those 10 blue links that based on like keyword matches or like whatever else Google did to like fight keyword spam, try to find the most helpful pages. So basically it was about the page authority. So you would have to put like useful content on a page that actually helps people answer the questions that they were searching for. That was the SEO world. But in a new world, oh, that doesn't really work that well anymore. So right now it's more about brand mentions and about all the stuff that is outside your website, how well you're perceived by the search engines or the AI engines around everywhere. Like if you have a lot of positive mentions on Reddit because people discuss about your product in a positive way, or if you feel like a very well-established brand, if you're doing a lot of like brand building activities, that's going to give you a push in the new AI world. So for generative engine optimization purposes, you need to do what you've been doing before. The content still needs to be like very well machine readable and like what we thought was SEO optimization, but there's other things now more important. So the authority citations, like the more authoritative sources will basically talk about you, the higher AI will rank your brand. And you need structured data still. And there's like a variety of approaches that have been suggested. Some of them are rather unofficial, as with all things SEO. Also, GEO is like just an evolving industry, and there's lots of trial and error, people trying to figure out what to do, because obviously nobody's giving up the secret sauce how all their algorithms work. So one suggestion was to use llms.txt as a well-known file that you place in a specific directory on your website. And that was basically all the textual content of your website in one big file, so the AI engine could go in there, pull that all out in one fell swoop without having to scrape and analyze all your pages. We're basically having all the information. There is no real official statements around this really being supported, but people do see traffic from robots pulling this file, so it might not hurt. Some software providers have started auto-generating these. There's like now, for example, a WordPress plugin, Yoast, that always did SEO, that also can create this like LLMs text for you automatically. Again, it's something that you need to do some trial and error around. However, what is clear that does work is like structured content. So the better you can mark up semantically inside your HTML what it is that you're talking about. For example, you have a product detail page using the schema.org specific tagging to say these are the specific attributes, this is the product name, this is the price, this is a description or something. The better the machine can understand what it is. It doesn't have to infer or guess what it is on like an HTML page, but it can directly know because you tell it this, for example, is the product description. These are some specifications. This is the price. So that helps and seems to improve the citation rates by up to 30% based on various like GEO tool research. And of course, it's also important to track your visibility on like the different LLMs. So there's not just ChatGPT. We have a variety of other tools, but another part of the industry has sprung up that allows you to basically track your brand to see how well it's surfacing across all these different platforms. So there's tools like Otterly AI, interesting, an Austrian company where I'm originating from, and also LLM Refs as two of the examples, which is not to say that there isn't any others or that I specifically endorse those. I'm not affiliated with them. It's just the first two that I saw. And let's see, Bernd has a question. Let me just briefly open up the chat window so I can see it. Geo replaces SEO, the devil's advocate question. Do lots of mentions on Stack Overflow help my brand? AI is sometimes dumb when it comes to judge sources. So I'm not the AIO expert, but in general, having your brand mentioned everywhere else outside your direct domain will help. Whether it's specifically Stack Overflow, I can't tell you. I can tell you that Google has signed a deal with Reddit. So thank you, Renee, for answering this as well. So there's a licensing deal. So it depends, but there's like lots of other information. So if you have other information that you want to share, also feel free to dump stuff into the chat so we can have this as a shared learning experience.
Exactly. And I will make sure to group this together. I think, like Jörg said, this is what's it called, a moving target. I think there's a little bit for those of us who has been in this space, whatever we call it, for a long time, digital marketing around that. It is a little bit like there are some echoes from the past of the Wild West of the SEO days and companies promising to follow our advice. You'll be number one on ChatGPT. But I think, like I said in the intro, this impact of people using Copilot, Gemini, whatever, ChatGPT for something like search has been really profound in the last 6 months. So I would suggest we take a couple of more slides, and then, like you said, Jörg, let's then open it up for all the other insights, questions, and perhaps even answers there might be in this community.
So again, as I said, there's not just ChatGPT, it's just like the most media hyped LLM that we see out there, like in the media. But of course, we are all aware that there's like plenty of platforms out there that people use. So ChatGPT being the first and foremost with 1 billion plus weekly searches, 800 million active users. And now they also started shopping features. So first of all, their Android app was debugged by people and they found some direct mentions that they want to like add mobile shopping, but they've also started doing deals with PayPal and Instacart and some other services. So basically they want to become a new intermediary that basically steps in. So instead of like you searching for a product and then being sent to a shop, you can directly buy it on ChatGPT within their interface, pay through like a payment part, but the fulfillment is still handled by somebody who's actually selling the physical product. So that's not ChatGPT or OpenAI themselves. But of course, they're going to take a cut of that transaction because they basically referred that sale to you. But some of the other players, like Perplexity, has been around for a while. It started out as more like a Gen AI search engine, but now they started doing lots of other things, also started providing like an agent that you can install onto your phone. They do partnerships with big telcos. They also have about 800 million monthly queries, going up very fast, probably also through these partnerships where they give away the pro service tier. And they also started selling advertising. And the interesting thing is that their advertising rates are 4 to 5 times higher than the regular ones. Again, you could argue because they can claim that money because they have the people who are interested and more likely to purchase because they're sort of like pre-qualified by getting the right stuff in front of them and they searched already with intent. Then, of course, Amazon is also not late to the party. They built their own AI into their shopping experience called Rufus. It's been around in the US for a little bit longer, but they also rolled it out around Europe. And basically allows you to ask Amazon to like find any product within the Amazon's catalog, which basically, if you're a destination like Amazon that people actually go to with the intent of buying things, then it makes sense to like not drive them away to like ChatGPT or somewhere else where some other party might take a cut of the transaction, but like run your own. And Amazon is like also has a huge arm of AWS and is doing a lot of its own AI research, even down to like chip production for faster training of AI LLMs. And they anticipate that this will give them like billions of additional sales by having this like AI helping people find products quicker on their own side. And you can also ask it, I've tried it, like asked, like I need a new vacuum cleaner and I want to have like this and this features. So I'll actually like literally go through all the stuff and find you things. But then again, Google also has AI overviews, but also now an AI mode that they're slowly rolling out that looks more like the traditional ChatGPT or Perplexity AI, where basically the whole search goes in like a chat functionality. And Google still has 1.5 billion monthly users. And they also start because they had Google Shopping as a service for quite a while, where people ingested their structured product feeds already so that they will show up in the Google search results for the shopping bits at the top of the page. So that gives them also a very nice advantage of having that structured data already at their disposal. But then again, like if people feed structured data into Google, they can also feed it into any other system. And with everything AI or computers in general, the better data quality you can put into a system, the better results you're going to get. So like make sure you have structured data to start off, especially as a manufacturer. that really starts with at least a proper PIM system implementation where you have correct product data in there, maybe even longer along your life cycle, even the product life cycle management system that feeds your PIM that then goes through your e-commerce. And then also, it's not just that AI search that is coming where people just manually search for things and buy stuff. There's also going to be agentic e-commerce in the future. So we'll ask our agents to buy stuff on our behalf, and that might work very well for, like, say, products where you have like, get me toilet paper, get me, like, I don't know, a bunch of soft drinks for my next party or whatsoever, where it's not necessarily a very emotional purchase, but it's like day-to-day goods that you just want to buy, and then the agent might decide for you that maybe Amazon's brand is cheaper and better than whatever local brand you might be buying otherwise. So again, big danger here is with these intermediaries going in between us and the actual people that we want to interact with, is that they will have bias, either technically because each AI LLM has a bias by default through the training data, or because the entity running it sets a bias to basically improve their own margins and do a better business model on their side. And AI will need to earn money because, as we've all seen, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars have already been spent on data centers, chips, training, whatsoever. And just giving all that away for free is a nice way to get people hooked into it, but also a $20 pro tier per month or plus tier is not going to recoup these investments. We've already seen pro level AI models targeted at B2B use cases where it goes into the hundreds of thousands per month, which might still be worthwhile if you can replace parts of like an employee's salary or an additional employee through AI. Not sure we're really there yet, but it might still be a worthwhile trade-off to, like, instead of hiring an additional employee for like 50 or 80,000 a year plus social fees, paying 20 or 30,000 for like an AI employee. But again, it's not so much the traffic question, it's an overall question. So where does that leave people that have content in the game? That's a very difficult one, because especially unless you're a huge publisher like the New York Times and you have the deep pockets to sue the big AI companies to get a licensing deal, it's very tough. Like, OpenAI had to pay News Corp $250 million in licensing. Reddit gets a lot of money, as you can see, 130 million from Google and OpenAI combined. But even if you put a robots.txt file into your website that says specifically, please do not scrape my site, companies are still ignoring that. Perplexity has been very, very bad at that. But basically scraping sites, even if they said they didn't want to be scraped. Plus, in addition, as you have like interactive search, those chat models need to go to the sites to like get the most current information. And what they're doing now is that they're basically simulating human behavior to get around like technical hurdles. So they will basically simulate mouse trails, brief pauses, keystrokes, as if an actual human was sitting in front of a keyboard, even though they are acting on behalf of a human, because maybe you just search for something and then basically does these fan out queries. So also a very interesting talk from Prague where you got together this year, how these LLM searches work. So basically the LLM is trained on like the overall knowledge of the internet up until a certain cutoff date. That's usually probably a year old, because it takes quite a long time to train these like hyper large models on all the corpus of the internet. So if you need more current data, what these machines or these LLMs do is they basically spin out their own internet searches with keywords that they derive from your search intent, and then basically amalgamate all the information from these searches. But this is where they basically then go in and basically ignore all the rules and scrape whatever they can. You could now argue, since there's a person sitting in front of the computer that could do the same thing, but not as fast. But then again, it's like not a legal question. It's more like, how do we deal with this overall? Like, do we see benefit in like AI searching our content or not? For the publishers, it might be difficult if their monetization potential goes away. For the e-commerce people, maybe good. And you can also now fight back if you have like Cloudflare as a CDN. You can basically turn on an anti-AI feature that basically sends AI crawlers in a labyrinth in circles and slows them down. But this is a game of cat and mouse that then the AI companies will also like go and try to win. And the big thing is that brand-owned websites only account for 5 to 10% of the actual search input. So you need to be everywhere. So like blocking off AI everywhere is probably not going to be helpful for the foreseeable future. So let's see. I'll take a look at the chat afterwards. And basically, there's like 3 things that you can do to stay relevant in this like AI LLM driven internet way. It's investing in brand authority. So like basically you need to be present all over the place beyond your own channels. So really like having digital PR, third-party mentions. And it's not necessarily optimizing your pages for SEO the way we've been doing it before. They still need to be machine readable, of course, but you need to do a lot of other things to get the attention of the LLMs and to rank you higher with your content. And of course, you need to implement the technical foundations. So again, having good structured content with schema markup, making it easier for the LLMs to understand your content, maybe putting in this LLM's TXT, also putting some FAQ question sections into your site that mimics user questions and answering them with proper, reasonable content will help to like rank your content higher. And then again, you need to track what you're doing because whatever you're investing will cost you time, money, and resources. So you need to see like how you're comparing across all these different engines. And there's tools like Ottily that will actually show you for each of those, like how your brand is ranking compared to like your competitors or on general search terms. And IDC, as a big analyst house, says that probably companies will be spending 5 times more on LLM optimization than on SEO. So this is going to be the next snake oil Wild West industry, as Janos mentions, because it's like there's no clear definition what you need to do to be successful. And the big providers won't tell people their secrets. So there's going to be a lot of trial and error, a lot of like self-professed experts. And you just need to cut through the noise. And like, I think most like the same way as like with white hat SEO versus black hat SEO, doing the things that the providers say will help you is in any case not a bad thing. That should help you. And then trying to do these black hat techniques where someone says, oh, I found this like sneaky little workaround, like embedding white text on white background as keywords and stuff like that. I mean, Google caught up to that, or originally like sending another page to Google when the crawlers came than what you would show to an actual user. These are all things that you could also do with the AI world, but again, I think it's better to play by the white hat rules and then basically not trying to sneak your way around the system.
Thank you, Jörg. We have a few minutes left for, like I said, questions or better questions, better prompts, and perhaps even answers. If anybody wants, you can use the feature which Joyce knows how to use. So I will start in my favorite city of Montreal, and then we can go west to Ottawa right afterwards. And then you can pick it up at the end, Jörg. You know, let's see what this is. Canada. All right, go, Joyce.
Hello, hi. Thanks, Jörg, for that talk. That was very informative. One of the things that we have identified as problematic with our sites is we have thousands of sites. We have a very organic way of creating content across our thousands of sites and the hundreds of platforms that we have. So in the new year, we're going to be trying to create more structure for our data by launching a content model project. And we'll be taking that content model project and over the coming year or more years, probably, taking our platforms and aligning it with that content model. So I'm wondering, I don't know if this is your area, but do you have any thoughts on ways we can, on if this is going to be successful, on how to make this successful, and if you have any tips on what you think will work in this strategy? Or if you think
I'm counting on Jörg to be able to take notes and perhaps hold multiple things in memory, because we will stay in Canada for a little bit more and go west to Ottawa. Mark?
I just have a very quick comment kind of related to, I think, people's frustrations with the AI services. Because I know when I was at a vendor, it was quite interesting. Google basically invited all the vendors to their headquarters. So, you know, Acquia was there, WordPress, Sitecore, you know, a number of others. And they sort of said, hey, here's what people need to do to get good SEO, and they were ranking things like performance, and granted they were pushing some of their own standards like AMP, but they certainly made it clear that performance was key, and I think it's very frustrating for everybody, including especially publishers, but even platform people, in that the AI folks are really not communicating. To your point, nobody knows if an LLMs.text actually works or not, and so they're not really helping the situation, and they're certainly not helping the situation by to your point, crawling stuff, especially where they don't have permission, faking human behavior. I think very frustrating on both sides. Certainly, yes, Google was consuming a lot, but at least the value exchange was clear, and they had clear guidelines. So less a question, more a comment, and general frustration.
That's the times we live in. And then we go to Toronto. Canada community is coming strong here. You go, Justin.
One thing we're observing amongst our clients is the ones that tore off the Band-Aid and went headless, in the last few years, are achieving much greater visibility. And it's like kind of a head scratcher. And you go, okay, that's why. Because crawling is expensive. Back to Jörg's comment about who's paying for all this compute time right now. If you can give any crawler a lightweight, accessible, performant front end, which contains your data and your markup, which by default, that's what headless provides, you can effectively double your I don't want to use the word double as in 100, but you can greatly increase your chances of being fully indexed and properly contextualized. That's critically important. And I'll just add to it, MCP UI is going to overhaul everything we're talking about right now. And it's like, don't fight this. It's important to, in fact, get on the side and understand how we can now integrate with what is a completely new medium that won't replace website traffic. It'll just augment it.
Very good. And then last but not least, in Canada, also Benoit, who's on mute. So there you go.
About the schema, do you have good references, you or anybody in the crowd, good references that tells me? Because I was looking for that and I was not convinced with what I found. Is there any reference that says, for sure?
Looks like some hitting the keyboard now, but I will give you the closing words. Jörg, you have the baton for now, and then I will also make sure to wrap this up with a blog post so we can keep the conversation and learning going. But over to you, Jörg.
Sorry, it was me typing, just taking notes of all the questions. So first of all, thanks a lot for your insightful questions and feedback, Joyce. As you are at the University of McGill, you probably have the typical university situation with many disparate systems and like having no enforced standards so far. So first and foremost, what will help is like having just an agreement of what the structure of information should be. You don't necessarily need to like put it all onto the same technical platform, which might be like a lofty end goal to reach, but that's unlikely given like all the sites you might have in different systems. But then again, like the better structured your information is, the more consistent it is across all your sites, the better the results are going to be in any case. So even for traditional search, but also for the stuff that we're seeing. Then to like Mark saying, yes, I think one interesting thing I also heard in the discussion in Prague was that speed is still super relevant, because again, for like all these fan out queries, like when the AI doesn't know the exact answer from its corpus of data that it's trained on, it will do internet searches. So if it needs to wait 3-5 seconds for your page to load, it'll just drop that and go to the next one. So like if your page refreshes very quickly and can be loaded very quickly and has lightweight markup, then you're going to fare better in this like new world, because make it easier for the machines to technically read your content. So I think that is also to the point of like the headless implementations tend to be lighter weight in general. Also, if you're headless, you have structured content, so it's much easier to transform that into other formats that you can feed directly to the machines, and or build an MCP server, which is like a new protocol where you basically expose information to an LLM, how it can pull your data directly or interact with your system. Again, this is also with the speed argument, and like Benoit, like there is like no defined specific AI schema yet, but Meta has provided schema.org for a very long time. So that is like the only thing that is sort of like now becoming a sort of like de facto standard also for AI, because AI search engines and LLMs can read that because it's so structured, and it has like very fine-grained different like types that you can like define. Again, it might not be easy to retrofit that into an existing website, but if you're doing a website relaunch project or something, then try to take that into mind, that you also have like semantic meaning and like basically put the information in this machine readable way in the future. So these are the things I can add here.
That's all we had.
Feel free to reach out to me. You have like my email address, and I'm happy to exchange more information.
That's all we had. Thank you very much, Jörg. Almost on time. It's perfect. This is a hot topic. Thank you so much, all of you. Thanks for joining. Wishing you all the best for the holidays. Hope you all get to relax and recharge, and then we will see each other again in 2026. That's all we had, folks. Thank you, Jörg.
Thank you so much. Been a great talk. See you soon. Bye.
Bye.